Okay, and welcome everyone to another edition of Nite Callers Bigfoot Radio. It is November 21st, 2016. It is Turkey Week. It's Turkey Week. It is time for Thanksgiving. I can't wait. You guys got big plans for Thanksgiving?
Well, if Jeff keeps doing all that, he's going to have a turkey for Thanksgiving that he called up.
We still there?
Yeah.
Hello?
That was good. Hello? Jeff?
Can you hear us, Jeff?
Oh, dear.
Uh-oh.
You're not muted.
Ricky, can you hear us?
What?
Hello? Hey, Ricky, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you real good.
Okay, Ricky's with us. Okay, Jeff, are you with us? I'm telling you people, warning you now, Blog Talk is acting very dumb tonight. We've got 5 guests, and so far only one guest been able to call in, and they doubled up on the same phone. So this is crazy. But my secret best fan was able to call in and listen in tonight, my sister Linda. So she made it in.
You're not supposed to tell who the secret best fan is. Jeez, woman.
Well, now it's no longer a secret.
Exactly. Good job.
Anyway, everybody ready for Thanksgiving?
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Are you kidding?
Okay.
It's my favorite day. I get to eat and eat some more and then eat and then make myself sick and then eat. And oh, yeah. Wear my fat pants. Oh, yes.
Okay. I know. Wear those loose pants. Jeff, did you... he was doing a turkey just a while ago.
I know. Somebody was. I mean...
Well, it wasn't me, so it had to have been Jeff.
Wasn't me.
Wow. Okay. Well, I was going to ask him to tell us about the prank call.
I know.
I imagine, yeah. It's been giving him a hard time. It sure has.
It is, like, yeah. Anyway, okay. So, any news to share?
No, but what I was going to do something really interesting tonight, but we really needed Jeff to do it. Right, well, we got Ricky. I was going to get Ricky and Jeff to do it, but I was going to play a sound, and I was going to see if they could name that sound. What form of wildlife they think it is.
Bring it. I got this.
Okay, Jeff. Okay, hold on a minute. Jeff dropped. Maybe he'll be back in a second. Okay. All right. I'm going to play the first one, and Ricky says he's got it.
Got this.
Got this. Okay, and I'll play it again for Jeff when he gets back. Okay, here we go, Ricky.
Do you know where it's from? What area?
Yeah. It's from the house that I used to live in Angelina County. I recorded it one night about 11 o'clock in November. Actually, it's about a month. It was the same month that we're in right now.
That was there in Texas, in East Texas?
Yes.
Play it again.
Okay. Jeff is trying to call back in. He got booted, and he's trying to call back in. Okay. Boy, this kid tonight. Okay, we're going to play it again.
Well, that's a good
one. Do I get to guess?
Yeah, go ahead and guess.
Is it a fox?
Well, now, it could be. It could be. Hold on here.
Where
did Jeff go?
I was going to say either a fox or a baby coyote.
I'm
Screaming.
here. Hello.
He's
Are you
reaching.
here, Jeff?
Hello.
Hello.
Yes, I'm
Hey,
back,
Jeff.
finally. Hello.
Welcome back.
Hey,
Yes.
Jeff.
What did I miss?
Okay, what we're doing is we're having a name that sounds, okay? Now, I played a sound that I recorded in 2002, November of 2002. It might have been 2001. It was 2002, I think, and it was recorded in Angelina County about 11 p.m. in November. So it's been, I don't know how many years ago that was, quite a few years.
50.
So anyway.
Too many to count.
Yeah, too many to count. But anyway, I'm going to play it, and you tell me what you think it is, Jeff. Ricky has already gave his idea, and so has Lauren. But here you go.
Okay.
We can play it again if you need us to.
Oh, I don't need you to play it again. I know.
What is it?
I know what it's not. I know what it's not.
Well,
What's
it's not
it
a
not?
cow. It's not a horse. It's not a hippo. It's not a giraffe. Are we playing this game? I'm good at this game. Hold on. I didn't know that was in the rules. That's not fair.
It's definitely not a hippopotamus. Okay, especially in November. You know,
well,
in that patch of woods in November. It could be a coyote. Listening to it through these crappy speakers on this phone, if I was able to listen to it through my audio equipment that I have, my Audio Technica type good headphones and things like that, I could tell better. But it really had a young coyote sound to it. But now that's not saying that it could not be a Bigfoot making that noise, because they do imitate coyotes rather well.
Okay.
so we have 2 for a adolescent to baby coyote, 1 for a fox, and Mom, what did you think it was?
Well, I just immediately thought it was a female Bigfoot. But let me tell you what I did with this recording. I sent it to Dr. Benson at the Center of Bioacoustics in Corpus Christi, and I had him diagnose it. And he said it had fox-like qualities, but he could not identify what made this sound. So,
It was too long for a fox. That was the thing about it for a fox.
Yeah.
Foxes usually don't, their cries are not lengthy cries.
Yeah, they're more like a yip.
Shorter. Yeah, they're whenever they give a pretty good squall, that they're only, say, maybe 1 second, maybe second and a half long. That was like 3 seconds long. You know, I mean, that was a long sapsucker. So that's what made me immediately go to, you know, something more along the lines of, you know, a coyote or something wanting to sound like a coyote.
Now, the interesting thing about this is that I actually heard it again. I wasn't recording at that time, but it was like a couple of years later. I heard the identical sound again in the same location. And so I thought, how odd. You know, I thought maybe the first time was just a fluke. And but no, when I heard the exact, because I knew this sound like by heart because I played it so many times. And so when I heard it again, I knew it was identical. And so I don't know. I don't know what it is. Apparently, Dr. Benson at the Center of Bioacoustics, they've diagnosed other things for me and told me what they were. Some of them were fox, some of them were coyote. I had some really deep howls they said were coyote. Just things like that, you know. I was real quick to when anything was really suspicious to me that could be a Sasquatch, I would send it off. And so Okay, this is the only one that came back that he did not know what it was. He called it unknown. So
That's interesting.
next week we will have another one. We will have another one next week, and we'll see what y'all think they are. Okay?
Sounds good.
Okay. All right. How about anything going on? Any news out there? Jeff, you were talking about a crank caller, and with everything as crazy it was before the show, can you share it now, or is it just not appropriate?
Oh no, it's totally appropriate, I guess.
Okay.
I mean, phone rings, and I very seldom answer numbers that I don't recognize. So the phone rings. Of course, I'll let it go to voicemail, and then boom, the little deal pops up that I have a voice message. So I click on it, and this voice comes on, and you can tell that it's probably a 10, 12-year-old kid, probably. And he proceeds to tell me that he's going to kill me and murder me and all of these kinds of things.
Word.
Oh, my God.
Huh?
Yeah, but the good thing is about 10 minutes later, they call back. And being a kid, he wasn't smart enough to mask the number. So I answer it, and I talk to the kid for a few minutes, and he's like telling me how he's going to kill me and all this, and he hangs up, and I call back. And I'm like, hello, may I speak to your mother, please? And I guess he didn't recognize that it was me, or for some reason, I don't know. And he goes, Mom, phone. And he hands the phone off to Mom, and I introduced myself to Mom and told her that her son had just committed a couple of felonies. And
terrorist
like
threat for one. Oh
yeah, I mean, you can't threaten to murder someone, and how would you like to proceed here? Because as far as I'm concerned, I mean, go get you a switch off the tree and tear his little butt up, and I mean, I'm good to go. And she was a real nice lady. Put it like that, The kid, I'm sure tonight is very, very mad at me, because according to
now
Mom,
he really wants to kill you.
The phone, the access to the phone that he was using is non-existent ever. So it doesn't matter. I've gotten several because my phone number is on my business cards. My phone number is on my Facebook page. My phone number is on all kinds of stuff because people have to get in touch with me for investigations and things like that and what have you. So my phone number is available to the public, so I get all kinds of crank calls constantly with people, call me and just scream out, "You found Bigfoot yet?" And stuff like that. But this is the first that I ever got was where, a 9-year-old wanted to kill me, and I don't know, a budding little Jeffrey Dahmer, I guess. I don't know.
Gosh.
What bothers me about that is that kids these days, man, it doesn't bother me that he threatened to kill you. I mean, that's just like, he's a stupid 9-year-old. What bothers me is he didn't know how to block his number. What 9-year-old doesn't know how to block the number? Like, that's kids these days. They don't know. They know how to access Facebook and post 13,000 pictures and do all these stupid challenges and stuff, but they don't know how to star 67? Really? That makes me sad.
I was just going to let it go. I mean, the voice message, I was just like, another crank call, blah, 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 forget about it. Move on. And then he calls back, and I'm like, I'm fixing to have some fun with this one. Sometimes they call me, and, like, I'll answer. I'm like, you've reached 107.4 KROAQ. Give us the phrase that pays, and you can win $10,000. And all of a sudden, somebody will go from crank call to,
That's good.
You sound like a radio person.
Imagine that. That's why we have him on our show. Hello.
I noticed that we don't have any other callers in. I was going to let Taylor and David know that if you guys will put the other team members' numbers up on messages on our Nite Callers page, we'll be glad to try to call them in on our phone. Okay, so do that. Maybe we'll be able to get the whole team. We were supposed to have 5 here tonight. I don't know what's happening. Blog Talk's being particular.
Yeah, it booted me. I mean, I was sitting there, everything was fine, and then all of a sudden it went, goodbye. The little lady with the British accent just said goodbye, and I was gone. I was like, well, I guess nobody wants to talk to me.
Well, we saw you there, and you just weren't answering us, so. Wow.
Y'all just thought I was on mute again, huh?
Yeah.
Something. Well, you kept saying hello, 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 and we're like, hello.
And
anyway.
We heard your turkey. Yeah, we did hear your turkey.
Yeah, we heard the turkey. All right, well, let's just go ahead and at least bring 2 of our guests on. I'll go ahead and read the intro, and then we'll bring them on because I'm ready to go. I've been waiting a really long time to have you guys back on, so let's do this.
Introduce us. Let's cue the fat.
Here we go. Y'all ready?
Ready.
Nite Callers Bigfoot Radio presents North Carolina Squatch Watchers. In continuing the series of the American Sasquatch Researcher, Nite Callers Bigfoot Radio brings you back again a special team called the North Carolina Squatch Watchers. They are a number 1 rated local KB. What is happening? Sorry. Anyway. Okay, they are a Sasquatch research team from the western part of North Carolina. The team members consist of a team research leader, David Martin, and team research members Taylor Cook, Toby Bolick, and Derek Stevenson, and a new member, Awesome Angie, who started as a skeptic and has been an active hunter for around 4 months and was just hooked, just like the boys. Over the past 4 years, every week, they have searched for evidence of Bigfoot and have obtained evidence through hours of video footage. Their evidence consists of knocks, yells, growls, objects being thrown, rock bashing near the riverbanks. In their opinion, they hunt the hottest Bigfoot spot in America based off of their continued Sasquatch experiences. They actually started out as 5 skeptics, but are now at 5 Sasquatch believers. This team can be reached at NC Squatch Watchers.gmail.com or can be found on their Facebook page. Join us for an exciting show tonight as we discuss Bigfoot with all 5 team members of the NC Squatch Watchers and see what's been happening with the gang since we last talked to them.
Thank you for that marvelous introduction.
Oh.
Hey.
I was wondering if your Tourette syndrome was kicking in or what,
Oh, my gosh. I need to proofread this before I read it. Somehow someone else's bio got thrown into that one, and I was reading someone else's bio at the beginning. Anyway, all right.
That would have been interesting.
Okay.
It was weird.
Okay.
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 Hey, can you hear us?
And so, yes, right now we have David Martin and Taylor Cook with us, and no one else has been able to join us yet. Hey, welcome, guys.
How
are you doing tonight?
Us. Doing well. Happy
I'm
Thanksgiving.
sorry. Hey, happy Thanksgiving to you. I am so sorry Blog Talk's being so contrary tonight, not letting anybody else on. But I don't know if you heard me say, if you will put everyone's phone number over there on the message on Nite Callers page. We'll try to call them in on our phone. Do a 2-way on our phone.
Well,
okay.
Well, let me explain to you real quick.
Okay.
Danger Derek, little girl, had an issue tonight, and they may actually have to take her to the hospital. So he will not be doing this. Yeah. I talked to him about an hour ago, so he will not be calling in tonight, so he won't hope everybody would understand. And Toby Tango is MIA. I've not been able to get a hold of Toby in the last 2 hours, so I fear Toby is either working out of town or on his way home from a road trip out of town. So.
Okay. And Awesome Angie?
And Awesome Angie is right here beside of me.
All right. So we have 3. We have Awesome Angie. Yay!
Yeah, I roped her in on this, and she's really, really shy about talking on the radio. But I'll get her involved here in a little bit for sure. She's smiling at me.
Well,
hey,
so bad.
Really quick, before we get started, can I tell you what I believe your sound was that you played earlier?
Yes, definitely.
Yes.
Okay. Just to go along with, I believe it was Jeff that was commenting on it.
Mm-hmm.
It was very long, okay? Fox and coyote are typically, now, if you're out in the woods hunting and you hear a pack of coyotes, it sounds like they're going on forever, but you're hearing multiple animals, cry, and it just sounds like a longer call. But this was a single animal, and it was too long, in my opinion, to be a fox. And if you guys will realize how it starts out, it doesn't start out low. It starts out kind of intermediate and goes up really high, and then it just drops off, and it actually drops down in tone and then ends.
Mm-hmm.
Dogs, canines can't do that. They cannot. If you listen to a howl or a coyote do a howl, when it's over, it just stops. It doesn't wind down or drop an octave and then, and just kind of end off softly. This one starts out kind of mid-range, goes really high, and then comes back down and drops off and then eases off into the distance. Did I say that correctly?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay. The only two known animals that I'm aware of that can do that are both humans and primates. And we do that in song. Monkeys can raise their voice and lower their voice. Dogs bark and they howl, but they can't change their octave. Only monkeys and humans can't. I believe that was a very large primate.
No. I like your analysis.
Yep, I was talking. I'm like, put me on. I want to tell him.
I was going to suggest we bring on our guest to weigh in on that. So.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
I'm not an expert by any stretch of the imagination, but I know just enough to keep me out of trouble.
Enough to make things interesting.
Yeah. It's been probably about a year since we've had you guys on. And just for those new listeners out there, could you kind of give us a rundown about yourself, David, and how you got started, and about the rest of your team?
I will. Actually, Taylor got started just a week or two after I did, believe it or not. Both of us got invited on a hunt. We were skeptics, I've always been enthralled with Bigfoot and Sasquatch, the Yeti, Loch Ness, all the legends and lore. And when I heard that there was a group up in western North Carolina that supposedly had found a print and had been going on active Bigfoot hunts, I just called it BS. And so anyway, long story short, they invited me to come. My first night on the hunt, at the very end of the hunt, they let me do a call, and on that return, I heard for the first time what I believed to be a Sasquatch giving me a return call. And I looked at Rex, and I said, can I come back? And he said, oh, definitely. And so then the very next week, I brought Bronson with me, and that's when Taylor was invited with Daniel Troyer, invited him, and turns out, Taylor, much like myself, we were hooked, and Taylor and I have become great friends in the process, and it's been going on 4 years now, so here we are.
That's awesome.
And really quick, the bio was right. We do have the #1 cable-rated show locally here in North Carolina. So we're going out to over 2.8 million viewers.
That is badass. Yeah. And I'm sorry I didn't include that. I was not sure I was on the right bio.
That's
not
okay.
That I doubt y'all for a minute.
You're doing fine. I'll let Taylor jump in wherever he wants. But I'll give you guys one of the big highlights that we were able to do is we actually caught the eye of Animal Planet and the show, the team of Finding Bigfoot, and they had a big open call, obviously, up in western North Carolina, which I'll tell you in a minute. Asheville, North Carolina is where they had the town hall meeting, and we were invited to come up, and actually got into the town hall and got picked to tell our story, and they actually came back to our primary hunt area and did a promo and looked at some of our footprints and things of that nature. We did not get to do a guest hunt with them, but we did get to film an episode with the Animal Planet crew and Finding Bigfoot, and really, really had a great time doing that.
That is awesome.
Yeah. Bobo, Matt, Renee, was the other fellow, I can't remember. Thank you.
Close.
Yeah, they're all great people. Just had a great time with them.
That's awesome, you guys. Now they know how awesome y'all are, like we know. That's really great. Y'all are moving on up.
Well, we're trying to. We're hoping to catch the attention of somebody who actually wants to write us a check to go hunt Bigfoot.
Right? There you go.
That's our dream job, is to be paid to hunt Sasquatch.
The Squatch dream. Yep.
Oh man. Well,
you guys
know,
deserve it.
I knew after you were on our last show that you guys were star material. That it would just be a matter of time before somebody picked up on you guys, before you did draw the attention of somebody. So I'm glad that finally. So has that episode aired yet?
It has not, and I've been on the Animal Planet website, and this is supposedly it's going to be their farewell season. And they have not announced the 10th season when it's going to premiere yet, so we'll be a part of that last season.
Oh wow! That's awesome. Going out
their
with a bang.
Farewell season. Oh,
yeah.
I hate that.
I think they need a new crew from North Carolina to film it there.
Oh yeah.
Yes, absolutely. I know 5 people that fit that bill.
Oh, that's funny.
But people are going to be wanting something to replace that. They're going to be wanting another program out there that's similar to it, or along the same lines, a group of researchers traveling around the country. Because I want to tell you, from doing this show, there are so many locations and so many researchers. I would really love to see a show that goes and meets up with other researchers and goes into their areas.
Mm-hmm.
And, something like that, similar to what we do here. We bring on researchers and bring on their evidence, and they tell their story. But this would even be better because, I don't know if they'd want any. I know when I had my research areas, I didn't want a bunch of cameramen stumbling around in my research area.
Yeah.
So, go ahead.
So, I try not to interrupt. I get really excited.
Yeah,
that's okay.
You really touched on a great idea, because it's something that Taylor and I and Toby have talked about for some time. Taylor, what is the one thing that we do different than any other research team out there, specifically those that are on television?
We stay in the same spot every time. Because I believe we have the #1 spot in America, and I'll say this probably until there is no more left that we can hunt, but we find evidence every single time where we're at, and I think that's the key to hunting. Is that what you're?
Absolutely. We have a fairly large search area, but we have a primary 100-acre area that tends to garner more activity than anywhere else that we've ever went. We went into a section of South Mountain State Park that we had never been in before. We had another small research team invite us, and they were, we roll up on the scene and we're like, holy cow, we knew where we were at was gargantuan, but we had never ventured this far back into South Mountain. And, you know, immediately when we're there, we're picking up on noises that aren't normal, and we hear movement that would not be your typical wildlife movement. And right away, Toby and I, we're in the woods, and this group, and Taylor's, you know, we leave Taylor with the guest that invited us. You know, they're like, we can't believe they're going in the woods. Well, how else are you going to find Bigfoot if that's where he's at? You know, so off we went. Now, what was really super unique about this is, now, Taylor is out here, he's in an open meadow area, and there's no way they know where Toby and I are, because we dropped off in a very deep ravine into the mountain. But we could kind of hear, you know, we could hear chatter where they were from a distance, but, you know, we couldn't make out anything that they were saying. But Toby and I picked up on movement up on the ridge and the gorge we were in, so we started making our way around to where the movement was. Well, you know, we got our radios, and then we hear Taylor say, hey, my God, we think we got something on the FLIR. And we wound up, we did pick up what we believe is a head pop up over the ridge right in the area where Toby and I are trying to make our way to where we can hear the movement. They got a clear, what we think is a head and shoulder shot of a Sasquatch on a handheld FLIR device. And these guys are like, we have never seen anything like this before. You know, we've been hunting this area for a while, and we hear knocks and we hear calls and we get rocks thrown, but, you know, we have never seen anything like this. I said, well, you actually got to go stir it up a little bit. You know, you got to go into the woods after it, or, I mean, I always tell everybody I want to be the first guy in history to get a Bigfoot bruise. You know, I want proof. You know, but our search area, our 100-acre primary spot, which we keep very close to the cuff, because we do not want people pranking or punking us.
Definitely not.
We've taken some folks. Well, I guess it was earlier this year. You know, when winter was, you know, I guess late January, early February, we took a gentleman out who met us up in Asheville during the Animal Planet shoot. He wanted to come and hunt with us, so we agreed to take him. Now, this cat had been hunting Sasquatch for 20 years. And, yeah, his first 30 minutes with us, he said, could not compare to his last 20 years combined. He said he had never experienced anything like this. And then by the time we were into this thing 3.5, 4 hours, he is awestruck at the level of activity. I mean, he's actually having rocks thrown at him, you know. And it made us feel good, because for us it was like, this ain't even the good, exciting stuff yet. You know, we're kind of numb to the fact that we are interacting with a community of Sasquatch, and it really is awesome. And we're hoping that somebody picks up on the fact that we want to promote an entertaining show, but we actually want to bring you evidence. And we actually found something this past March that had us all on edge, and I'm going to let Taylor tell you about that.
Which part are you? The group, the second group that went with after him, or?
Remember when we took Chris down there on the hunt, and what I was just talking about?
Yeah.
You know, we went down there and we went into that new area where we'd never really been before, or a lot, and we found all the trails.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, then when we went back the next week, what happened to all the trails?
They were all blocked off with down trees, and
yep.
The small down trees were like jammed into the ground. X formations. I mean, chain briars where you can tell something that I guess it's attached to the fur, like it drug them across the trail. I mean, every entrance to the area of the property that we found was totally blocked off. And we went to Rex and made sure he didn't go down there. He had done nothing with the area. I mean, it was insane. Is that the part you were talking about?
Absolutely. We're on private land, and this is it's a natural property. They don't allow any motorized vehicles on it or anything like that, so it's very well kept. and it's a habitat. Well, whatever happened, and of course, I believe it to be Sasquatch.
Oh yeah.
These things, they drug trees that had been down from other parts of the forest. These trees were in some cases 20 and 30 feet long, as big as your leg, and stuck them in other trees and intertwined them and blocked off every feasible path that now, don't get me wrong, it wasn't impassable, but we got a clear message that we were not supposed to be in there. So, of course, we went in there, and we found what we call engineered X's, where you have saplings that are bent in such a way that they're not broken, they're actually bent, and then they're shoved into other limbs and woven into other trees, and then another sapling will be pulled over and woven down, and it makes a perfect X. And Taylor, there are these two trees that are just naturally leaning, and when I say two trees, these things are 75 to 100 feet tall. But a tornado had came through several years ago and done a lot of destruction on the property. Well, these trees are kind of leaning really, really weird to begin with. And Taylor happened to notice when we found the engineered X, when you look up at those two trees, they make a giant X. And these things lined up, it was like sighting in the rifle scope of a gun. The X's were perfect. And I'd never seen anything like that. So we know it wasn't naturally occurring in nature. This is something that was engineered that way.
Yeah.
Now, we couldn't figure out why we weren't supposed to be in that area, but along towards the end of March, we actually had Toby was with us and his son Ty. We call him Tada.
Tada.
But so Tada was there, and he just kind of looks down and goes, well, actually, Toby and I were in the woods looking at a trail.
Yeah.
And he's like, get over here, get over here, get over here. And, Taylor was with them. And then I'm going to let Taylor tell you what we found.
Yeah, I'm standing beside Ty. He looks down. He's like, whoa. I'm like, I kind of look at him like, yeah, because normally whenever we take someone, they're always, here's the print. Well, this is an actual, probably what, a size 4, David? Something maybe bigger. I don't. It
is a very, very small footprint. Let's put it that way. I'll explain a little bit here in a minute after you get done.
The weather's bad, so we know there's no kids anywhere around. Ty's, he hollers he screams for David and Toby. They come up. I'm looking, and David's like, sure enough, it's a footprint. It's a print of, and it's the toes. We've got pictures. It's all. I'm pretty sure I posted them. We got the pictures, and I'll let David take over from there with what we done that night.
Taylor has found 2 prints before, and I found a print myself, but none of us have ever found one this perfect.
No.
And it's in an area where there's it's Cheney briar and holly bushes, and it's February, March. It is still freezing cold. So what small child, and I say small child, is going to be running around barefoot at the edge of the Henry River in South Mountain State Park barefooted?
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
And the reason we say that is the trail coming into this area was that this was a main trailway. Guys, it looked like somebody came through there with a bulldozer and just mauled the trees across our pathway. And this pathway is big enough if you want to drive a golf cart up, it would be no problem. So it's not a footpath. This is a pretty good pathway. And this area had been completely just blocked off, and you could see the trail through the woods where it appeared to me like 1 or 2, maybe 3 Sasquatch just took their arms and just held them out straight to their side and just laid the saplings over, and then they were just, made this huge area that was hard to get through. We got through it, but, you had to work your way. And then right up above it, we found the footprint. And what we believe we have is one of the first that I've ever heard of, juvenile Sasquatch footprints. And when I say juvenile, I mean we're talking newborn.
Yeah.
And we think the reason that all of those paths had been blocked in the months prior was because we were dealing with a pregnant female Sasquatch. And while they entertained the thought of us being there, they're like, you guys are entirely too close to our nursery, and we want you to stay away. So we shut the hunt down, and we sent Taylor and Brittany went and actually got us some cast material, and we cast this print. And it came out phenomenal.
Yeah.
5 toes. It has I'll tell you the name of the joint that a primate has in its foot that humans do not. You can see clearly the joint in the foot that's not supposed to be there. This is not a human footprint. It's not an adult Sasquatch. It is a juvenile Sasquatch. And we were thrilled to death to be able to cast this thing. And it was my first time ever casting a print, and we were beside ourselves. I still am. I get excited talking about it.
Yeah, it's awesome.
It is in my basement right now.
I was curious what it was. Now I haven't saw it.
Oh yeah, I keep it out of harm's way.
Yes. That's awesome. And that was Brittany's first hunt. Well, that was her only hunt she's ever been on. I thought that
she's never been back.
She totally thinks there's something out there. She still thinks I'm crazy, but she still she thinks there's something.
Hey, that's progress.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. That's not even. Are we going to tell them about the competition the school had and the guy who was the skeptic that came with us?
We actually my little girl's school was raising money for the chorus. And so I offered them, I said, look, you guys, we'll raffle off a guest hunt with our group, and, we'll give them a T-shirt and, a once-in-a-lifetime guided Bigfoot tour. And so the gentleman that won, I wished he'd have brought his son, but he didn't know that he could. I'm like, oh, yeah, we want to make this as big as we could. But anyway, we had him and another guest group there with us. We had 3 people that night that were guest hunters. And my daughter, Kaylin, was with me. And, of course, Taylor was there. And Toby was there, too, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Okay. So Toby and myself, we're down in an area where we call it the nest area. We just always have because we thought we found what was a nest at one time. But, no one can prove one way or the other. So we just kind of leave it the nest. So Toby and I are down there. We've got movement and we hear things, and we're just trying to discern, what's going on. Well, I gave our guest guy, I don't want to mention his name he may not want us to talk about it. He had the night vision goggles, and these are military-grade night vision glasses. They don't record, unfortunately. They're just meant for, search and destroy, if you will. And everybody starts hollering for me and Toby to get up here, get up here, get up here. And then I'll let Taylor tell you because he was right there and saw it.
Yeah, the video camera is rolling at this time. We've still yet to go back and look at that footage because I've caught it all on video. That's right before we screamed for you. We heard you remember the rock, the first ever rock come flying through the woods, and you were doing
right.
It was that same sound, but it was apparently it jumped out of a tree, ran across the trail, and the guy. That's why we started. The reason I started screaming, Tyler, get up here, was because of the crashing sounds that I was hearing. It was like, and then the skeptic with the goggles, and he even got the color right, David, because most people are like, it was black, and then in night vision goggles, it's not going to be black. But
right.
He got the color. He said it was at least 7 foot tall, ran across the trail, and that's whenever y'all got up here. And then we asked him the color, and he said it was a white figure in the night vision goggles that ran across the trail, 7 foot. What did he say? 7 foot tall.
He said it was hunched over, and he thought it was about 7 foot tall, hunched over.
Yes, and he was a pure skeptic whenever he first came.
Yeah, everybody that night got a glimpse of something that we tell everybody to be prepared for because you just don't ever know.
Yeah.
Toby, and I wish Toby was with us tonight, because Toby has actually he has made visible eye contact with Sasquatch the same night that we had Chris on the hunt.
Yeah.
'Cause it was still late winter, early spring. You know, it's pretty cold out, and Toby actually saw it moving along the edge of the Henry River in the areas where we were having the rocks thrown at us. And you know, I wished, for all the listeners that are out there, I hope you guys pay attention when we tell you this. We are so uptight and anal about what we tell people. If there is any doubt in our mind that what we heard can be explained away, then we just leave it alone. It never airs. Taylor just told you something. We've got video from the last 2 years. We collect so much video and audio evidence, we can't go through it all. It sits in archives. Our producer right now has, I don't know how many terabytes of video that he has stored, but he has 18 MacBooks full of video, and 12 of those are nothing but our hunts. I can't tell you how many terabytes it takes up to fill up one MacBook, but we go so much that he just dumps it in, puts the date in, and then we eventually go back and try to look and see and research. But, I mean, it just comes, we do it so much and it comes so fast, it's hard to keep up with it all. Taylor was, he was at a card shop this past week when we went on the hunt, and we were ill prepared for this. And the cameras weren't charged properly. We didn't have enough anything, and so we thought, well, we're going to take the cameras we got, we're going to go in, and we're just going to do what we consider a fluff hunt. And a fluff hunt is where we just go in and get some good footage that, you know, we can maybe, you know, hey, this is a good opening shot. We can, you know, tie this in with other episodes and just have some good stock footage, you know, that helps the show look good.
Right.
Now, we had no idea that we were in for the best 45-minute hunt we have ever done.
Of course. Murphy's Law.
Now, Taylor, I don't even know if Tayller knows this. Angie and I went Halloween night hunting. We went the next Tuesday, the following Tuesday after Halloween, and had 2 spectacular hunts midweek back to back. So, you know, we were really anxious to get the group together this week, you know, because it would be the last hunt we do before Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
So, you know, things come up, people are working late, stuff happens. Okay, well, we didn't have enough cameras to do what we wanted to anyway. Long story short, you guys played that what sound of this clip. Now, we were down there, and Angie and I were at the top of the trail where we call the rock pile, and that's the gifting area. That's where the Sasquatch left us all the rocks and has been a constant source of communication between us for the last over 2 years now. The rocks haven't been moved but one time that we can tell in the last maybe 3 months, but they have definitely moved them at least one time in the last 3 months. So we're up here now. Taylor, remember the little bend down there where you and Derek thought y'all saw the black figure come across the trail?
Yeah.
Okay. You know where that area is, and you know how thick, and I mean it's just almost impassable on the other side, correct?
Yeah.
All right. Angie and I are up there, and and Rex has every bit of it came through on the audio is perfect. You can hear the Sasquatch in the background going. I mean, giving us perfect callbacks. I mean, we had great return calls. We were getting a lot of activity. We had movement that we could clearly hear down around the Henry River area, and we were just what a great night. So I told Angie, I'm going to give a yell. And I just give a whoop, you know, and I just gave a single whoop. And all of a sudden, we get a response. And now, Taylor, what is my nickname on the show?
Super Dave.
Why do they call me Super Dave?
You're hit first every time. If you had a case, I guess it would.
I don't hesitate for nothing. I'm the first guy in, last guy out. If there's a Bigfoot, by God, we're going to have to wrestle for it, okay?
Yeah.
Not with me.
I turned to Angie and cut all the lights out immediately. I mean, we had to go dark because
that poor woman.
Well, now Angie hasn't said a word here. She's over here giggling at me. So, Angie, tell them what this thing sounded like. She's shaking her head. Come on. What did it sound like? When we heard the return call, what did it sound like? Tell us.
A man.
And how close was this man?
Really close.
It sounded like you and I talking right now, and it sounded like a man gave a return imitation of a Sasquatch call, and it went, ooh, just like that. And it was so loud that, I mean, I honestly thought that someone was close enough to punk me. And we're on camera, and I tell everybody, look, we do not carry firearms, okay? I'm not worried about what a Sasquatch is going to do. If they wanted to hurt me, they already would have, okay? We carry bear spray, and that's it. Now, Toby wasn't with us, so we didn't even have our bear spray. So I told, you know, my biggest fear is we get out here, some nut stumbles across our hunt area, and they're armed, and God knows what they're going to do. So me and Angie sit there for a little bit thinking, you know, how we're going to get through this, because we honestly don't know. So then the more I think about it, Taylor, it came from that bend in the area.
Yeah.
There was something there, not more than maybe 100 to 150 foot off of us, that sounded like a man.
Wow.
And you only heard it take 2 or 3 steps, and then it was gone. Now, you and I both know that if I'm over there, it's going to take me 15 or 20 minutes just to get out of that one little patch of thicket, and I'm going to be tore up in the process.
Mm-hmm.
So, not to mention that's Chigger Alley. You're going to get eat up with Chigger. So, the more we talked about it, the more we came to the conclusion is I honestly believe, and I don't say this lightly because remember we're really cautious about what we put out as evidence. Mm-hmm. But Rex said it is so clear, and it's some of the best audio that we've ever gotten. We believe that we have a Sasquatch that was trying to imitate us.
Really?
Now we've got it on film before. We've had Sasquatch imitating our whistles to the T. I mean, if we could have taught him to whistle the theme to Andy Griffith, it couldn't have sounded no better. And so me and Angela were awestruck on how clear this thing sounded. So we walked down by the area and nothing happened. But when we got to the vehicle, you know, now our cameras are dead. We have no battery left. We're completely done. Our audio camera is completely full and the battery shuts off. You know, it's gone. And we're sitting there and our feet are planted and we're listening to two creatures. One walking down from the top of the hill coming down the area where the cabin is, and the other one behind the creek that crosses over into the Henry River walking towards us. So I put Angie in the vehicle and locked the doors, and I had Rex on the phone, and I grabbed the light, and I walked all the way back up to that area, Taylor, and I could hear nothing. And I just listened to 2 bipedal creatures walk up on me not more than 200 feet off, and then as quick as I went into the woods, they just stopped, and I couldn't see nothing.
That's how it is. Every time.
So, you know, and it's gonna take an investment, and you know, on my end, I'm actually, you know, I keep saying I'm 2 weeks away from launching our website, but we're going to try to launch our website in hopes to earn money to buy better equipment, to bring a better show, to bring better evidence. But it's going to take a commitment, an investment from someone to give us better gear, to do better research, because right now all we've got is what we can afford out of our own bank accounts and put forth and go with it. And that's what we hear out of a lot of Sasquatch researchers, that, you know, it's they can only spend what their wives will let them.
Yep.
Yeah.
Taylor doesn't have that problem yet, but it's coming.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Hey, Angie and I were sitting here talking during the break, and we actually have a question for you guys.
Okay.
You know,
is it for Jeff or me or Miss Ward?
But it's going to be for all of you, because we're kind of grasping here, because we have encountered a new sound in the last several hunts that we've been on that I've never experienced before.
Oh.
Yeah, Taylor, you're on the same thing I am now. You know, you guys are in the woods, and we all become familiar with the local or regional sounds that you're going to hear. You know, we all know what a rabbit sounds like. I'm kidding. We don't know what a rabbit sounds like. but
I actually do.
Yeah, we all do.
You gotta grab him before he squeals. But you know, typically rabbits don't make sounds in the wood other than scurrying. But you know, you'll hear the whippoorwills, and you'll hear different type of birds. You'll hear squirrels bark. You'll even hear bullfrogs bark, and that's a very unnerving sound until you know that is a bullfrog. You know, so lots of things like that. But we've encountered, you know, at first off, you think it's some kind of bird. And Taylor, can you help me describe maybe what it would sound like?
All I know is that it follows us. The sound is, I don't know. It's I have no clue what it would sound like, honestly.
I figured it'd be easier for them to laugh at you than laugh at me, so I was hoping you'd bite on that one.
But throw you under the bus, huh, Taylor?
Okay. Well, my question is this. It would be very difficult to mimic this sound, but when you're in the woods and you're hunting and you run across a bird and you know clearly it's a bird sound, once you get close enough, bird flies off and you're pretty much done with the sound. Is that your take on it, or do you have the bird stay with you and maybe change sides? You know, let's say if it's on the right side of the trail, all of a sudden, you know, it's up ahead of you 50 foot on the left side of the trail making the same noise. Does that make sense?
I've had experiences with birds. Is this during the day or at night? First question.
This is at night. This is late at night.
Okay, well, I have to say I've not had a lot of experience with birds at night other than owls. And generally owls will move around, but they don't really follow people unless you're like me and you're calling to them, and then they'll follow me. But I can't think of a night bird that would actually follow someone. During the day now it's different. You have crows, you have chickadees, you have all of them that they're like predator alert. If you're in an area, they're going to let you know you're in the area. But at night, you know what's really strange about this is my friend has had a similar experience. It sounds like some kind of night bird, but it comes associated with a very strong, musky smell, and her hair stands on end, and she feels very like she's being watched, and she said it sounds like some kind of weird bird, but she knows it. There are no birds that smell like that. Yeah. So this
you're
is
spot
in Texas.
on.
Yeah, this is in Texas.
Oh my God, that's almost like you went on a hunt with us.
But see, I have never had that experience, but she has.
We encounter a very foul, musty urine, almost feces smell, if you will. It is a very pungent, unpleasant odor, and it always accompanies the bird sound. Now, when I say bird sound, I say that loosely because it's up in the tree. It is quite clearly in the tree line, so it's not ground level. But it's almost as if it's a baby cry. And it's a repetitive crying noise that we hear. And in with this noise, Taylor and I have both gave chase to an area in the tree line where we thought we saw something either crouched or hanging in the tree, and as we got closer, it almost like it just disappeared off of the tree and then down and just into the forest and was gone. But it was almost there was no sound associated with it. You couldn't hear any movement. It was just just disappeared.
Yeah.
Wow.
And we believe
Jeff, what do you think?
that it's a.
Well, I was going to comment on the bird. I've been doing this a long time, and before that, my expertise is in wildlife in general. And when you hear birds that normally don't call at night, and they're calling at night, and like you said, whenever you've got one that it's calling right here, and then it moves and it shifts, and you're like, at nighttime, songbirds generally don't sing that much because the predators are out, and bobcat or whatever snatch a dadgum bird out of a brush pile in a heartbeat. Yeah, and you hear these sounds. The one that always gets me is whenever you hear two birds that are basically communicating with one another that should not be communicating with one another. You'll hear a screech owl communicating with a red-breasted robin or with a cardinal, or you will hear a barred owl communicating with another bird that it would normally be eating, and the two of them are actually conversing back and forth, from lack of a better term for it, and you're going, no, this ain't right. This is not normal in the realm of birds.
But you said a mouthful, because Toby and I have experienced whippoorwills calling to screech owls, and vice versa. Oh, we have heard, and I don't know if you've had this phenomenon, but typically if the whippoorwills are, and whippoorwill has a specific pattern, and it's a very beautiful sound.
Yeah.
But typically it's not, we call it, and I think it's the right term, we call it an alarm. It is just going repetitive, and then as we move up, it might move to one side or the other of us, but it kind of stays with us, and it continues that alarm. Every time we've had that phenomenon, we have had activity with Sasquatch.
Mm-hmm. You talking about the smell a while ago. The smell. For anybody that doesn't know, imagine this. Imagine the worst armpit smell that you've ever smelled in your life, and smear a little bit of septic tank juice underneath that. And then I want you to go out in the cow pasture and get a big, huge cow patty and take that and smear that amongst there with it. And if you do that, you are close. You're still going to have to go to the pig pen and get a little bit of the pig mud where the pig's been wallering in the mud and smear some of that in there. You get all of those things mixed together, and that'll give you a pretty close idea of what the smell when it hits you. I mean, it literally hits you like somebody just smacked you in the face with a 2x4.
You stop dead in your tracks when it hits you.
Hey, Jeff, have you met my cousin? You just described how he smells to a T.
Oh, Lord have mercy.
He is correct.
For him, I think I dated that girl. You know.
I know everybody in their life, to our listeners out there, everybody in their life has run across a dog that has not been taken care of or bathed properly, and it has that foul urine, and it might even have some feces matted up in its tail end fur and things of that nature. That is a very unpleasant smell. That is just, if you can imagine that, you know, if you were just putting your nose right down on it and breathing deep, that is the tip of the iceberg to tell you how foul it smells sometimes.
Yeah.
And Taylor will tell you we all. Well, matter of fact, there was so much movement. It sounded like something came crashing through the woods. Taylor and Toby was with Angie, so because I don't ever leave Angie by herself, but I had enough crew with me. I just took my camera and just took off running, and when I made it to this area, I was like, instant Superfly brakes, because the smell was so pungent. You're thinking, which side is he on? Because he's got to be here looking at me. It has to be right here within eye. But yet we still can't see anything. And it is so foul and it is so pungent, you can taste it. And it's not a pleasant thing, but it's kind of like the crown, if you will, because you know you're close. If you can't smell it, you're not going to touch it.
Mhm. Yeah. You know, around here, I've encountered different smells in different areas. They almost the worst one I ever smelled was the very first one I ever saw, and it was awful. It was awful, and it was like a kind of like what you were talking about. It was musky urine, vomit, and feces, and throw in something dead. It was real bad, and the whole area was permeated in the smell. We looked to see if there were any kind of fecal matter left or anything. The whole area smelled that way for about 6 hours before it finally started fading. That was real strange. I couldn't understand why the area smelled like it. Also, I have smelled urine. I have smelled what I call old unwashed man, you know. It smells like old people smell, kind of musky. And then I have, in this area where I live now, they smell like, almost like zoo animal, almost like cow manure, but a little more like a zoo. If you've ever been to a zoo, like the elephant pen or it's that kind of
real
smell.
heavy barnyard smell.
Yes. And
just so everybody knows, monkeys are funny, but they stink like crap.
Oh yeah. Well, I noticed that a lot of these ponds, they have a lot of dead cattails and stuff like that on the edge of these ponds. So when you stir that stuff up, like when you're fishing there and you pull up a bunch of it, it smells the same way, like rotten vegetation. And so I'm thinking that they spend a lot of time in these ponds and down by the river in the dead vegetation, because that is the very same smell that I smell when they're in the area, and I'm not close to those ponds.
Well, I know that they're particularly fond of the Henry River, because we have had them pick river rocks up and bash them so hard that the ground has shook underneath our feet.
Yeah.
We have.
Have mercy.
Matter of fact, the first time that we heard it, you would have thought somebody was dragging a Volkswagen upside down through the river, just scraping it across the rocks. I mean, it sounded like a car wreck, and we have this all clear on video. The audio is perfect, and the reaction of our faces are just, it's priceless because, I mean, we know, not only do we know everybody hears it, we know the camera has to have this because it was so loud that our cheap cameras finally picked this up, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, we could literally feel the ground vibrate under our feet from these things smashing river rocks. You know, we've had the phenomenon where the area that we hunt doesn't have any ponds, but it has several creeks, and obviously the Henry River runs right through it. But there is a lot of granite and limestone rocks on this property, and you'll just be out hunting in the middle of the woods and come up on a giant rock just out in the middle of nowhere. Well, we found evidence where they're taking other rocks and rubbing them on the rocks out in the middle of the forest, and it makes a very eerie, loud sound. I mean, it's a scary sound to hear because you're like, what is that? But once we kind of figured out what it is, I don't know if they're sending signals to us or they're communicating with the group, because the area that we're at is a community of Sasquatch. There's not just one creature. You know, most of the time we're down there, we're dealing with 3 or 4 at one time.
Mm-hmm.
So it's awesome on our end to be able to just try to hunt and keep on and hopefully catch that one, you know, glamour shot of him posing for the camera. You know, it's what we're shooting for, but, you know, in 4 years of trying, we hadn't found it yet, but we hadn't stopped either.
Well, I have a question. Have you ever heard anything that sounded like language?
Yes.
Yeah.
Me and Taylor and the group call it wild man chatter.
Okay.
And the only one time that I have ever been scared Sasquatch hunting was the night when Taylor and Toby went up, because at the top of our exit point, we've actually had them follow us up and try to get us to come back and play. Well, they run up a vertical incline, if you will, that is, you know, from bottom to top, it's 600 and it's almost 800 feet above sea level to run from the bottom to the top, so it's pretty steep. And it would take me an hour to 2 hours to make this trip. Well, they do it in a matter of minutes. So as we were going back up on our electric golf carts up the trail, I just exited the golf cart and stepped off with a night vision camera. And I hid I was on all my hands, and I'm just spread out, you know, on the ground, and I just had my camera recording for sound. And I could hear 2 creatures running up through the woods. They stopped right dead in front of me in the area where we know that they throw things at us and beat on trees, and I could hear them talking to each other. And it was a clear language. It was almost like you could just about make out what they were saying, but you're thinking that what it is gibberish. And it was so fast and almost like, in some ways, almost like a click, but it was, you know, and I know it sounds funny, but it really is what it sounds like. And I'm sitting there.
I call it samurai Bigfoot chatter.
Well, you know, yeah, exactly. We were, you know, I'm standing there, I'm by myself. You know, I'm not that far away from the group, but I'm by myself, and I'm thinking, I have 2 Sasquatch in front of me talking, and I can't see them. And then you ever get that feeling and you know something's behind you?
Oh, dear.
Every hair on my body that could stand up stood in attention.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew at that point that there was a Sasquatch standing behind me, watching me lay on the ground, watching his buddies talk. And then you could start hearing the movement.
Yeah.
Now, I'm outnumbered 3-1, and I had to make myself get up and start walking back to the group. I mean, it's the only time in 4 years that I'd ever tell you that I was truly scared to be by myself. because I was surrounded by 3 Sasquatch, and they were talking to each other in a clear language. So yes, I have heard the Wild Man chapter.
What about
David? I have a recording that was submitted from Alabama, and they believe that it is possible Sasquatch speaking. They even sent it to Craig Nelson, who has examined it and found that there is linguistical value to it. These gentlemen are friends of mine, so I'm sure they won't mind if I play this. But this was recorded south of Birmingham, Alabama. And that's the most closest place I could tell you that it was. But take a listen to this.
That's bomb.
Did it sound anything like that?
Yes, eerily similar.
Okay.
Now,
but what I've heard is faster, is a lot faster.
I heard that.
Yeah, on my end, it was much faster paced. That sounds like it's a little slower, retarded when you like the audio has been slowed down a little bit for clarity.
Right. I think it has been.
I believe if it was played at real time, you would find out that it's more of a chatter, and you can hear, because you can hear where it's been slowed down. You can hear the clicking noises that I was talking about because they're a little more drawn out. But that is eerily similar to what we hear.
Jeff,
and
were you
a lot of the native cultures.
Oh.
I was just saying, a lot of your native cultures all around the world, they do incorporate a lot of sounds and clicks and pops and different just vocalizations that are not words to mean things in their language.
Yeah. Well, my native people, the Cherokee Indians, the legend is that they not only knew the Sasquatch, but they interacted with the Sasquatch. And I know that I'm not going to pronounce this word correctly. I've been trying to find the correct pronunciation for a year now. But as close as I can tell you, outside of Sasquatch, which is a Native American word for Bigfoot, the Cherokee called it Slookaloo, which is slant-eyed giant or hairy giant. And that is, this is the legend that, they had a working relationship with Sasquatch. The two cultures intermingled and coexisted. We're not shaking hands and trading peace pipes or nothing, but they were aware of each other and they showed each other immense respect. So, yeah.
Do you remember the week prior to that? What made us want to do the experiment of you slipping off the golf cart whenever we're still driving up? The first time we heard that sound of them interacting, it almost sounded like they were kind of doing like the chant, like it had a. You remember it going? Ooh, it kind of had like a chant with it. Do you remember?
Well,
we
could. Yeah, yeah. I mean, the night that pushed the tree over was phenomenal. But we can just hear them interact with each other, and if they're trying to communicate with us, I'm not sure. But I have tried to call Slookaloo and let them know, it's the Cherokee word for hello is Osio, and the Cherokee word for goodbye is Dunodago Hunyi. And so I try to speak to them in a native language, to let them know that, some of the old culture is still there and that we mean them no harm. And I truly believe that they know our group is completely harmless to them. And all the interaction that we have with them is playfulness on their part, because I've said it before, I'll say it again, our group is their entertainment. and they get a kick out of watching us act like a bunch of nuts in the woods at night trying to catch them, knowing full well that they can outmaneuver us 10 to 1.
We actually believe now that we're the baby's training ground.
Yeah, absolutely.
And now you have brought them something especially entertaining to watch, and that's Angie. How has your research changed since you've been bringing Angie along?
Well, there are two things that we noticed that we have. We tend to have more interaction when there is a woman present than versus not.
Right.
We tend to have a lot closer action, if you will. Now, Angie has able to do something that we have never done before, ever, because I don't think we were smart enough to just ever do it. And that's just plain old outright talk to it. And not being cutesy-wootsy or nothing, but Angie has just been able to just sit there and just have a conversation and say, if you want us here, let us know. If not, send us away. And so she asked, hey, if you want us to hang around and interact a while, just knock on a tree. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I just told you that it could interact with the Cherokee Nation. And the Cherokee Nation, or the Cherokee language, is a very difficult language. It is a very beautiful language, but it's very difficult. But I don't know if they know English yet or not. But she asked them to knock on a tree, and we got Halloween night, clear as a bell. Knock, knock, knock. Just 3 right in a row. And so, she's just having a conversation with them. And they're interacting through conversation, just her giving just verbal commands that, why would a Sasquatch know English? I don't know if it does or not. But it clearly interacted with Angie in a way that I've never experienced before. It has interacted with my daughter in ways that have just about pushed me to my limits. I'm thinking, holy cow. We've had to shut a couple of hunts down and take the kids out because they were acting so erratically and aggressively that we just, we're not going to chance this anymore. If it's a group of adults, that's one thing, but when you've got juveniles involved, now we're not going to push it but so far. So Angie brings a very different sense to the group that we've never had before. And to be honest, I think it has a lot to do with pheromones and scent.
Mm-hmm. 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 Well, we're gonna let her slide this time, because she's new. But next time we have you guys back on, Angie, you get a full 30 minutes all to yourself to tell us everything.
I would do it.
Got to be prepared next time.
Precious skeptic that we have. I want, I know she's a believer now, but I would love for her to just give her, testimony. That'd be awesome.
We would love it too, and if she's comfortable doing that, we would love to hear it. And if not, that's fine too. We will definitely hear from her next time.
She's waving bye to you guys.
Come on now.
That's okay. We won't pressure her into it. But well, it sounds like you guys, I love having you guys on because y'all are never boring. Y'all are never repetitive. You guys are just great.
I agree.
Well, and I apologize for not being able to get you guys material. This has been a very difficult last 2 or 3 months for us. But we've got some things. I need to make sure that you guys get us some good information where I can have Rex send y'all some stuff. Because we actually had a group get together and write a theme song for us, an old folk song, if you will, about the Henry River, and they incorporated Bigfoot and our group in with it. So it's corny and hokey, and it's a bluegrass song, but it's a pretty cool song, Hey,
and
you hear it once, you heard it all you want. But it's a neat little video that goes with it, and we can have some fun with it. And I'll let you guys have that and play around with it. And and see if Rex can send y'all some better video clips. So.
Yeah. They can actually go to our
good.
Facebook and hear two plain knocks, like on their last live video that we done.
Oh yeah, the
yeah.
last live shot we did. I mean, it was incredible.
Yes.
Heck yeah.
Well, I actually had a group of children with me.
Fun to me, boy.
I actually had a group of children with me, and no cameras rolling, no anything. I wound up getting them to safety and then calling Toby, and Toby could hear them beating on the trees and screaming on my cell phone. And the kids they didn't even have a clue what was going on. But my daughter did. She looked at me and says, "Daddy," and I said, "Don't say a word. We got to get out of here." I mean, and again, Kaylin was there, and they were acting very aggressively. So I can't say but so much because of the circumstances surrounding, everything. Because I don't want to put juveniles at risk. I can talk about my daughter, but no, I don't want to mention anybody else's name. So.
I would like to say I do think females they have a gentler, more compassionate nature about them that it's just inbred into them, and I think that they sense that. I think the Sasquatch sense that the females are non-threatening, and that and also pheromones. But I don't know. It is something about women and children that tend to attract their attention. And I know that I've talked to people who had children, and the children were making a lot of noise. They were out playing on trampoline, and they had one that was very upset because these kids were making so much noise. And I had a theory about that, and why was it upset? I was thinking, my theory, and see if you agree with me, my theory was the Sasquatch was upset about the children making noise because in their family group, children are not allowed to make noise like that. It's too dangerous. And maybe they regard the hairless children and their own children, they're all children, and they're supposed to be protected. So maybe they felt the children were putting themselves in danger by being so loud when they have always, in their society, they keep the children quiet for their very own protection.
That's awesome.
I have never thought of that before, but that is a very well thought out hypothesis. I think that's a great thought.
Well,
it is.
I don't know what to say, but that's what I would think.
That's very good. That really is. That's a good deal. And maybe they're mad. Maybe they get mad along your lines of saying that because to them, whenever their children make that kind of noise, it attracts predators such as wolves and coyotes and maybe mountain lions, things like that. And so whenever they hear a child making that kind of noise, they're like, shut up before somebody eats you.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's just a natural protectiveness on their part. Along and shoot you. Yeah. And so these children that you had with you that day, those adolescents, they were probably pretty loud, rowdy, rambunctious.
They weren't loud. We were at the edge of a creek that empties into the Henry River, where we have had multiple sightings there. They were throwing rocks in the river, and right around the bend. Now Taylor will know where this is at because this is where we got our first rock thrown at us, the one as big as a Bible, and right around the bend, this thing picks up a river rock and starts bashing the rock so loud, it like scared me and Kaylin half to death because we thought somebody was shooting off fireworks at us. And then we thought, oh, hey, that's not fireworks. It's bashing the rocks. And the boys are like, hey, listen to that. And I'm like, yeah, cool. It's time for us to go, because I gotta be Mr. Calm and cool and collective here. I don't want to upset anybody. But then Kaylin looks at me and she's like, Daddy, are we okay? And I'm like, Babe, I think we're fine. But I said, I'm pretty sure we probably need to get out of here. So we walk up the trail. Now, Taylor, you know where the big rock is where we found evidence that they'd been beaten on, right?
Oh, yeah.
I picked up a rock, and I told everybody just to stand still. And I no sooner had the rock hit the ground before it didn't really pick a rock up to throw it. It bashed the rock so quick right there in that thicket. It just went boom, and I'm like, gotta go. Come on, guys, let's get out of here. I've got
There's
4
your
kids
son.
with me. Yeah, I've got 4 kids with me, and I'm thinking I am not prepared to run off down this thicket after this thing and leave 4 kids unattended. So I got to get the kids back to safety to where I know I can go off on my own. So, and the kick in the pants is I'm dressed up like Uncle Sam 4th of July, getting ready to do a DJ concert, to raise charity for the Colony Springs Historical Society, and I'm just kind of taking a breather, and we're just kind of off on a walk, and we start getting Bigfoot activity, and it was incredible. So once I got the kids to safety, and I went down and I had Toby on the phone. I said, Toby, can you hear that? He said, what is it? I said, Toby, it's beating on a tree. And, it could have been 100 foot off from me. Well, this thing followed me all the way back up to the top of a picnic area and was breaking limbs at the edge of the woods, just snapping them, just one after the other. And I'm going, and there must be 450 people at this event. They ain't got a clue that a Sasquatch is at the edge of the property. And, of course, I'm not going to alarm anyone, and I don't want to send a bunch of people off, traipsing through the woods to get hurt, but, had one of the best adventures I ever had, didn't have a camera one with me. And then, of course, my producer told me I was never allowed to go back out in the woods without a camera.
Well, we do have a caller, and I'm going to see if they have a question for you, or they want to just say hello, or if they have a story to share. So let's find out. 409 area code, you're on the air.
Good evening, Lori.
Hello, what do we got? Well, good evening. How are you doing?
Doing pretty good. I've enjoyed your show this evening.
Well, thank you. Yeah, they're wonderful guests, aren't they?
Yes,
NC
they are.
Squatch Watchers.
Thank you.
I wanted to ask the question, do y'all have different kinds of Bigfoot up there? Are they all the same? Y'all don't have the snouted ones like we have down here in East Texas that are really mean.
Good question.
That is a good question.
David?
I believe that we're dealing with a Sasquatch who is very human in appearance, as far as, anywhere from 6 to 8 feet tall, coned head, and when I say coned head, I'm talking, from the shoulders to, it's almost like a mountain, if you will, but the face is fairly flat. I've never been able to see a clear picture of the face, but the time that I was close enough to make out, that I'm looking at a head and shoulder and torso of a Sasquatch, I didn't see any protruding snout or anything like that, and I never once got the impression that I was in any kind of danger.
You're very lucky. Very lucky. Ask Lori about them snouted ones.
Yes. They are mean. They're what we call very aggressive in this part of the country. They have they're located in several different areas, and they seem to stay mostly to these areas, but the encounters with them have been very aggressive. Now, I don't know if Texas Millimeter has them down in his area or not. How about that, Jason? Do you?
Yes, remember when we went over to Boykin Springs, the park?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Well, you know what's really, really strange is I actually have a recording of, do you remember that night that I made the call and this wolf howl came back? And it sounds like a coyote from, like, New Mexico. You know, kind of like, almost like a fake coyote, you know.
Yeah, but on steroids.
Yes, it was very, very loud. And this was after the sighting earlier in that day that we had seen I had seen a snouted Bigfoot. And so anyway, that night I had done this call, and I got this, I might as well play it. No, do y'all care if I play this real quick?
Please.
This is really strange.
I'm on pins and needles.
Jason was there. He can vouch for it.
Dad.
Yeah. Now, the first part, you have to forgive me. I was doing a Bigfoot call, or sort of like a Bigfoot call, but then the response is really strange, because I want to tell you, and Jeff can vouch for this, our coyotes don't sound like this. Not at all.
Yeah, that ain't no coyote.
That's me. Okay.
I knew it was you. I said, I know that ain't no coyote. I knew you were taking that one.
Okay, now help me out here. So the first two were you, correct?
Right.
Correct.
The third long drawn out one was not you?
No.
No.
Wow.
That was, I don't know what the heck that was, but
I'm going to tell you what I believe that is.
Okay.
And I believe that that's the call when you hear it, that you need to kind of be really still and make sure you don't go in the wrong area. Because
we hear 17 half-inch tracks.
Yes.
Exactly. Well, we hear all kinds of different kinds of Sasquatch responses, but it's those that are screams, and that is a scream, in my opinion, that puts you, I mean, if you hear something, if you're scared and you scream, what is that? Everyone starts to freak out. They're very uneasy, right? You scream for a reason. Well, so does Sasquatch, okay? If they yell at you, if you want to get someone's attention, you yell at them, right? Or you hey, okay? Sasquatch does the same thing, but when they scream, that's a whole different ball game. And, you know, I have been in areas where I think we wore out our welcome, you know, and we get the grunts of the root. And we've had them shake trees before, you know, like, you know, hey, you guys are too close, I want you out of here. And you hear that grunt in the root. I mean, I'm pretty much like, holy frickin' cow, this is awesome. You know, if it wasn't shaking a tree, I'd be walking closer, okay?
Not in East Texas. You hear a grunt in root, you better be clearing leather or climbing a tree, one of the two.
So, have y'all ever heard the root?
Yeah, and it wasn't from a Sasquatch. It was from about a 250-pound boar hog.
Okay, well, we don't have them that big in North Carolina that I'm aware of, but there is a specific sound that we call the root, and I never divulged that sound to anyone until we heard someone ask me, and I think they were in Alaska, that where they had an encounter with a Sasquatch, and they were mimicking the sound, and they called it the root. And it was the second time I've ever heard it called that, and I coined it the first time. So it's a very distinctive sound. And by the way, have y'all ever heard Sasquatch call a turkey?
Mm-mm.
Do you know how Sasquatch calls a turkey?
How?
Turkey! I'm kidding. I'm just messing with you now.
Sorry. Do you think I ought to tell them about the constipated alcohol?
Oh God.
Oh, well, sure. Oh God.
And the constipated alcohol is?
It's a challenge.
It's a challenge.
You want one to respond? Yeah. It's you make like an owl, but you end it with a scream.
Huh.
Loud and hard as you can.
You know what? I forgot all about that.
Do y'all ever just do a whoop?
I do.
Do you know how? I mean, give me your interpretation of the whoop.
It's like a whoop. That's my whoop.
Very good. I get more interaction just going whoop than I do anything else. And it's just and now I'm sitting in here in the Henry River, and I can do one whoop and it'll echo 3 times. So I know it's going across the mountain. And it depends on how we're doing it. We either do 1 or 3. I never do 2. I don't know all the reasons and science behind that, but we've been told if you're going to knock, you do 1 knock, 3, or multiples. You never do 2. Every time we have heard responses in 2s, whether it be knock or return calls, we have turned out the hunt has become aggressive every single time.
Yeah.
Wow.
That explains a whole lot. Doesn't it, Laurie?
Well, it explains a whole lot. I don't know why you're still alive. You should have been killed by now. Been on a Sasquatch pit.
No lie.
So what you guys are saying, that if we could all arrange to get some vacation time and come down to Texas, y'all take us on a long-snouted Sasquatch hunt?
Oh, we sure would. I know some good places, and I know Jason does too, and so does Jeff. So,
Gosh, I would love. I've never been to Texas, but I've come to Sasquatch.
Yeah, that'd be
awesome.
Yes.
One thing, we got pigs here in East Texas that don't take no for an answer. Big pigs. Laurie, you know we went out to my deer lease and called that one night. Remember we went down to my stand and walked down there?
Yes.
Well, at my stand last May, they caught a 450-pound hog down there.
Oh, my God.
Somebody.
Oh, my God.
Oh, yeah.
Shoot, Jeff takes those out on a daily basis.
Yeah, them were chokes where I'm at. I shoot them with a 22.
That's why Jason carries Smith & Wesson with him.
Now, I'll ask you guys a question because I think I just heard the answer. So, I mean, because y'all have wild boar, y'all have to take firearms, correct?
Yeah.
Oh
yeah.
Yeah,
I
don't walk out of the front door without a gun.
Well,
like
I
we
don't go to
take
Walmart in East Texas without a gun.
I don't take a weapon.
Lori does.
Everyone thinks I'm a fool, but I feel like if there's Sasquatch in the area, they're going to be scaring everything else off anyway. So,
Lori
all I got
is
to worry
also.
about is Sasquatch.
But Lori is the female version of Superman over there, or Super Dave, or whatever. Like, she has no fear.
She's
absolutely
not scared.
I will say this.
She'll send you running down through the woods after a snouted one and not tell you till you get back.
Well, and I will say this, because Lori is my mother.
6350.
Because Lori is my mother, I will say this: she is a redhead, and she could probably scare the damn Sasquatch away with her temper. So she don't have to carry a gun.
That was it.
Hey, guys, let's hear something.
Skunk, take off running down through the woods after this thing, looking for it. And then when we get back, that one was snouted. What?
Yeah. Yeah.
See, the thing about it is, I'm gonna touch on something that maybe y'all haven't thought of. The reason we by and large never take a firearm because we where we're at, outside of a black bear or maybe there are a few cougars in the area. There's nothing that we worry about getting a hold of us, okay? And the few times that we've had idiots that bring guns on hunts, we're the ones that wind up nearly getting shot. So that's why we're very strict on allowing.
I can definitely see that.
People get scared to death and pull a gun and start waving a gun around, and there's no safety on it. I don't want to get shot by an idiot. I do want a Bigfoot bruise, but I don't want to get shot by an idiot. I'm not going to get paid for that. But I just thought of something. I'm going to throw this out there at you guys. If you guys were going to pet a monkey, which one would you rather pet, a chimpanzee or a silverback gorilla?
I would rather pet the gorilla.
Why the gorilla?
Because I think that they would be less violent than a chimpanzee. Chimpanzees are incredibly violent.
All primates, once they reach the age of 20, become sexually mature and become more violent. But if you think about a young chimpanzee versus a silverback at any age, a silverback is snouted. Chimpanzee is primarily flat-faced compared to a gorilla, correct?
Correct.
Think about what you guys were just saying about a snouted Sasquatch, being more aggressive.
Yes.
True.
I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there for conversation.
And that is just our experience. Now, of course, I did not have when the one that I saw did not have a negative experience. And let me explain. Now, Jason's saying I sent them chasing after a snouted Bigfoot, and that is not correct. Let me clarify.
You didn't tell us
there was one out in the woods, and it was making imitating. It was imitating an owl, and you could tell that it was not an owl. And so they went taking off after this thing. Well, I just stayed stationary, and I could hear them out in the woods, and this was during the day. And they chased it around, and as they were chasing it around, I could hear all the birds following the creature. And so I just listened to where the birds were and just watched in that direction. And sure enough, they chased it around where it crossed in front of me, but I never did see it. Well, I was trying to get my camera to work. It would come on, and then it'd go right back off because the dead-gum batteries, every time you go to this place, all the batteries die. It's just one of those places. And so I was trying to get it to come on, and it would go off, and I was trying to get it to come on. It would go off because I wanted to get a picture of it because I knew sooner or later it was going to make itself known. It was going to come out through that clearing. And sure enough, it did, but I couldn't get a picture. My camera would not stay on. And I saw it, and I saw it just partially through the foliage, but I did note that it had a protrusion on the front of its face, like a snout. So I saw this, and I'm thinking, what is that? Well, I thought, a bear maybe, but it didn't have ears like a bear. And it was walking upright. Because it was too tall. It was even actually too tall to be a bear. And we don't have a lot of bear in this area. Maybe more so now than we did, but back then they were just being introduced. And
plus,
so
you remember the fire starter boys that we met going into this place? The one kid that looked like he'd seen a ghost?
That's right. We had, and it was cool. It was very cool weather, so there was no reason for him to look. So he looked frightened to death, like he saw something. And they didn't have any way to leave. Apparently the workmen that worked these gentlemen that were doing the work there dropped them off, and they would come back later to get them. So they had no way to really leave. So he was kind of stuck there. And he's furtively looking around, and he was very pale and had a sweat going on, and he looked terrified, didn't he, Jason?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you noticed something like that. He was very glad to see us. We had vehicles.
That's how Taylor looks all the time.
Yeah.
It is. Plus, Lori, if you remember the first night, when we were coming back to camp, that Dad and I were behind y'all, and the deer, were running crazy.
Mhm. Yeah, I do remember that.
Yeah, I had the one run into my car, run into the side of my vehicle.
So will y'all actually camp out on site and do all-night hunts?
Yes.
Yes,
we like to do that.
That's what we're doing.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. I think that's a much better activity. Yeah.
Yes, I do too. And that particular night, we were not near. Well, we were about 3 miles from the area where it was seen, but that's nothing for it to make its way over to where we were at. And it was just, I just knew that it was a different kind of creature that normally inhabits that area. And of all the Sasquatch that have been seen in that area, there's a normal Sasquatch. They have the normal Sasquatch look. They didn't look like this. Yeah, this one didn't look normal. And I didn't get a feeling from it that it was evil or anything like that. I just was surprised about its appearance. So.
Plus, it didn't like disco music either.
No. But we're down. Jason, I want to thank you for calling in, and I really enjoyed hearing you and reminiscing. Yeah. But we're down to a minute. So I want these guys to kind of quickly tell us what they're fixing to do, what's coming up, and then we'll have to call it a night. So Taylor and David, what's coming up? What can we expect from you guys?
Great things, but David knows it all. David knows more.
Well, other than trying to get our website up and going, we're going to try to go out on a new adventure. We've got so many people wanting to go hunting with us that we're actually going to try to start doing some better hunts, if you will, to get more people involved, where we can spend more time and travel and things of those natures, to let people have more interaction, not with just our group, but with the experience of actually being in the vicinity of Sasquatch. We can never promise what kind of experience they're going to have, but we've never had anybody in the last year that's went with us one time that ever left disappointed. As long as I can get them a return knock or a return call, I feel like we've done our job, and it gets people thinking about what's really going on in the forest around them. So we're going to try to start doing more guided tours here in the near future. But with the holidays are upon us and, the wildfires burning here in North Carolina, we're kind of at a standstill through Christmas anyway. And the destruction that we're facing right now in South Mountain is just unfathomable.
Oh,
I can't even say it. Terrible.
Unfathomable. I can't say it either.
And if they can find the arson that set the fires, they should burn him at the stake. So
I agree.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
Yeah. That's not good.
No.
Well, we're going to give y'all a few months, and we're going to have you back on. So you better get out there and have plenty of new adventures. I tell you what, we really love having you guys on. Huh?
Yeah, we enjoy it.
Well, one thing about it, if you come to East Texas, we're going to eat good.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to eat good, and we'll show you a really good time. Yeah, we'll feed you. I'll try to find a way to get here.
We can do a live.
We got to have with the mobile barbecue pit and everything.
Yes.
There you go.
That'd be awesome.
Cool. Jeff can supply the meat.
Hey, sounds like we got an adventure on our hands, Taylor.
Yeah.
You guys could figure out a way to come.
You could do a live in the field show and call it good.
Oh yeah. Hey, that would be even better. Yes.
Well, y'all take care.
All right.
Angie wants when you wants to be down there.
Good having y'all on.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Enjoy it.
Say good night, everybody.
Night.
Good night. We appreciate you guys. Thank y'all.
Good night, guys.
Thanks for coming on. Good night.
Bye.
Bye-bye.